Our aim is to be the world's best relationship bank. Yep. So we really hang our hat on our relationships we can build and what we can do for the community.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners and Burke Britton Financial Partners.
Yep.
No, good. All right, well, let's kick it off. So this is episode number 120 of the Fine Answers podcast. Today's guest is Cam Murnane. Is it Cameron or Cam?
Cam is probably the preferred, yeah.
Okay, well, what about the birth certificate? Is it Cameron?
No, it'll say Cameron on the birth certificate, but I don't think I only get called that when I'm in trouble.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So Cam Murnane, Community Development Manager and hopefully a lot of people will start to see this name floating around Geelong, see it pinned on stadiums and the like, but for Beyond Bank Australia. Cam, thanks for jumping on the podcast this morning, mate.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Now, we've already talked kids and travel and all sorts of stuff before we hit record. We're going to get to Beyond Bank. I know those people that have been around Geelong and Geelong banking circles have known you from Bendigo Bank days. We've crossed paths over a number of years in various circles, but for those uninitiated that don't know you, I forgot to introduce you to Ben. Sorry,
quietly in the corner.
I do this all the time. And Ben Kemp. Ben, thanks for joining me.
Ben, not Benjamin as well, by the
Is
way.
it?
Birth certificate, Ben, just while we're on
Is it
that.
really?
Yeah, simple.
Well, mine's Jay, just Jay. And
no
people,
middle name.
No middle name, although I did, funny story, I know we're going off on the sidetrack already, but this is actually a banking issue too. So I wanted a middle name. So my brothers both Jack didn't have a middle name. Clayton had a middle name and it was Peter. So Clayton Peter Burke. And I wanted a middle name. So I just started writing it on everything. And even up until probably a couple of years ago, my middle name on bank accounts was J. Peter Burke. And I don't know how it got there, but...
you do the ASIC lookup on advisors. I'm pretty sure there's two profiles because there was one that got set up incorrectly with it and then they had to redo it again.
Banking's changed a little bit over the years. There's a little bit more identification requirement. Anyway, so Ben, thanks for joining us this morning. Back to you, Cam. Let's start at the beginning, mate. For those that don't know you and haven't seen you or heard of you through sort of Bendigo Bank and Beyond Bank now, let's go back to where you grew up and where you started.
Yeah, cool. So I've been a Geelong boy all my life. So grew up in Grovedale and primary school at Grovedale West, and then into Christian College for high school. Stayed in Geelong again and went to Deakin Uni doing commerce, finance and accounting. I was all ready to live the dream and become an accountant in Geelong here, and then I started doing some part-time work just as a teller at Bendigo Bank, and it was about that time they started their business banking area in Geelong, and as I was ready to head off, one of the guys asked whether I'd come and be involved in the new business banking area at Bendigo Bank, and yeah, I was there for nearly on 15 years.
So what was that? What year was that when you got the gig at Bendigo Bank?
2002.
Okay.
And then through to about 2016, 2017, I was just sort of worked through business banking officer, they called it then, through to a business banking manager, primarily around the small business, and looked after a lot of the branches around Geelong and surrounds, and a lot of the community banks. Was involved in sort of the setup of the Leopold Community Bank and also Lara, and then sort of it had a little bit of the banking world, and I ended up going out to getting a job with the City Grade Geelong as a partner in the partnerships and strategy area there. So I was there for about 5 or 6 years doing partnerships and strategy work, which was really good.
So what does that mean?
I was going to say that one of my questions, and people always ask, like, what does a community development manager do? But we can go back to that in a second.
Look, that was a lot of the documentation and strategies that councillors put together. So we worked really closely with the 11 councillors on what does their 4-year plan look like, what does the budget look like, ranging to then other stuff around the city's diversity and inclusion strategies and that sort of stuff.
Was Darren Lyons a councillor when you were there?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
He was. I
would have liked to see his brief on. Yeah.
I was
Christmas tree,
post the Lions era. Yeah.
Nightclubs.
So that was there's always varying reports around working at council. I really enjoyed my time at council, and the people I worked with there were really good. Worked with a lot of community partners, but then that started to shift into a bit more service delivery stuff around who might we engage with around our leisure network, leisure centres and all that sort of stuff, which wasn't quite my passion. It was certainly a way that they needed to go, but it wasn't what I loved doing. So I then ended up at the Geelong Chamber of Commerce for a couple of years, again doing partnerships, and that was around sponsorship of events, our corporate partners, membership sales and that sort of thing. And then, eventually 4 months ago, got a text from the CEO at the time of AWA Bank, who were merging with Beyond Bank and wanting to catch up. And I initially thought, I think I've told him this, but I actually thought they wanted to sponsor a chamber event. Okay. So I went along to this meeting with my chamber things ready to go. And then a couple
talking
of minutes,
points.
Yeah. This is what I can offer you. And then a couple of minutes in, realised we were talking about a potential job rather than a sponsorship of an after 5 event. So, and then the more I looked into it, the more I spoke with the people at Beyond around the role, the more it sort of fitted into what I wanted to be doing.
Were you hesitant to go back to banking because you'd left it, or was it you'd had enough time out?
I was. I was, but this was purely community development. Yeah. So time with Bendigo Bank, which I enjoyed, was business banking. This was purely community development, working and concentrating on the not-for-profit sector and clubs and those community groups. And I think the idea that I could still probably I could do that and have that banking knowledge and from the past was really handy for me, and I think was probably attractive to them as well. So it's sort of been initially that, in the first 4 months, it's been pretty handy to be able to sort of hold my own in regards to banking conversations as well as community outcomes and impacts and all that sort of stuff.
It might be an obvious answer to this question, but when you say community banking, what do you mean? So obviously Bendigo have played in that space a little bit, Beyond Bank now, but what is it? How do you define it?
Yeah, so from our perspective, it's how do we, there's a lot of great organisations out there doing fantastic stuff. And that's not just, not for profits themselves, but I mean, I've been involved in footy clubs, cricket clubs. I mean, those sort of clubs themselves are just a fantastic space for kids, families, parents, for connection, all those sort of things. So it's how do we sort of, I guess, through their banking, help them grow what they do and have greater impact. So that comes in a number of forms. So whether we end up sponsoring something, or whether we partner with a certain organisation to help them achieve a certain program, or probably like I said to earlier, Jay, the most pleasing aspect's been the type of facilities or banking solutions that Beyond offers actually allows them to sort of increase their position and impact just through their banking solution. So better off in regards to some, whether it be interest or fees or whatever that looks like. Beyond Bank is it's a customer-owned bank, so there's no shareholders. So every dollar they make goes back either into community or back into products and platforms and tech and trying to make the banking solution better again. So to be able to sort of come in with those solutions, armed with that, but also this will to want to provide some sponsorship or some partnership dollars, or to also amplify that, has been a really good story to tell.
Yeah, I think the concept or the methodology of having a bank that's closely linked to the community is great.
Yep.
It's one thing, but if your product's no good, it kind of, you're going to get found out at some point. Like you were just saying, I think it was off air, as you alluded to, that pleasing that from the sort of the commercial banking point of view, that your offering's a strong one.
Yeah, and look, when we when we sort of came into Geelong, the last thing I wanted to do was be probably running around buying people's banking with sponsorships, and that's the thing. We've been really active in the sponsorship space. We've partnered with some really good community organisations so far, but we're pretty confident, or very confident. I'm confident after 3 or 4 months that even when those types of agreements end, that those organisations are still in a really good spot with Beyond from a banking perspective moving forward, and that's half the battle, because the last thing we would want to do is go in and put them into a banking product because we're going to give them some dollars and then find out that that's not a great outcome for them, because one, they'll just leave, and two, it's not great for the community that we're trying to have a more positive impact in.
Who are some of those Liberty to talk about some of those organisations?
So I mean, we've got some strategic partnerships with Geelong United Basketball. So you would have seen the bit of the branding change, hopefully, around Beyond Bank Stadium from AWA Stadium.
Funny little side note, when that first happened and the name changed, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought it was the arena, and I thought, oh, that's great. Yeah, I remember seeing John Farnham at the arena. It's interesting that now that's Beyond Bank, but yeah, it's not the arena, is it? It's the other stadium.
Yeah. And
do you know it was the
I
other
was going to
stadium?
say I wouldn't even know where it is. I'm not a basketball man, but that's on me.
Yeah. So where is it? Where's the Beyond Bank Stadium?
So out in Crows Road in Belmont there. It's the it was originally a AWA Stadium because AWA Alliance Bank sort of helped with some funding around the development of that.
Yep.
And it's rather than it sort of being that main show court type facility, it's 8 community courts. So, there's nearly 10,000 participants that go through there every week. And there's games on there all day and all night round. So that's really the space that, from a basketball perspective, we wanted to go and play in as Beyond as well. Really that grassroots community basketball. We love what's going on with the WNBL, and I'm on the board of Geelong United Basketball. That's been fantastic, and we'll sort of dip our toes in there at different points. But from the community side is where we want to play most.
Yep. Who else? What other partnerships have you got at the moment that worth noting?
Yeah. So Giveaway, we're the platinum partner of Giveaway Live Foundation. So Beyond Bank have agreed to just signed off another 3 years of that as their platinum partner, which is fantastic. We're also the major sponsor of Geelong Connected Communities. So they do smaller grants as well. There's some existing partnerships with the Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club, and another one we've just entered into with Lazarus Community Centre for the homeless. So we've got, in addition to our local sponsorship, we've got a Beyond Bank Foundation, which has a really focus at the moment on sort of affordable housing, disaster and financial wellbeing. So where we can sort of where organisations and we can get involved with organisations in those spaces in particular, there's also that bit of that ability to tap into some of the foundation as well there.
Yep.
So plenty of opportunities to help.
Probably more so maybe at the consumer level. Branches. How many local branches are there?
We've got the AWA branch is now a Beyond Bank branch,
Yep.
so that's in 4951 Mallop Street, and that's fully staffed. That's got a mobile lender, a business banker, myself. So that's the full offering there. There's also a branch in Warrnambool. They're about to open one in Portland, and then sort of South Melbourne is the next one. From a Victorian perspective, yeah. So the major footprints at the moment are New South Wales and South Australia. That's where they sort of it all originated. But there is a bit of a strategy going on about some growth in Victoria.
It's become like such a topical thing. Is there actually a branch? It's sort of gone back to that again, where people want to be able to walk in there. Do you find that with clients? It's actually a really important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a renaissance of what is old is new again, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's the big shift, with technology away from. But I think maybe the pendulum has shifted too far. Maybe it comes back, and you do have not only boomers and beyond, but the younger crew who just go, I want to come and see someone.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. And look, it's always been that. I think the challenge was not about not having a branch, but how do you, to some degree, take your branch out to the community so you're not always waiting for people to come in. You've got that offering there. But I think the challenge for us is how do we actually take the staff out, get them out volunteering, get them out being involved in their own communities and having those conversations outside of the branch, but then having that base for people to come back into and get there.
Is that something that's pretty unique to Bendigo Bank where they have those community? Is it?
Yeah, so that Bendigo Bank got the community model. They're sort of community-owned sites, sort of Leopold and Lara and a few of those. So, we're in a space where we're starting to open, and particularly in Victoria, starting to open branches. So it is almost that reverse story to tell, which is fantastic. So we'll certainly be probably, I would have thought, adding branches before we're taking any away, particularly from a Vic perspective.
How long has Beyond Bank been around for?
A long time. I probably can't give you the exact, but it's sort of a bit of an amalgamation of different co-ops and so a number of mergers before it became Beyond Bank. AWA, who merged with Beyond Bank, that was all set up through the Alcoa days. So that was the Alcoa co-op for the staff. That's why there was a branch in Geelong. There was also one in Portland and one in Mandurah in Western Australia. So there's now, those three Beyond Bank sites. But yeah, I think it's sort of 1950 type era, I think. But I'd have to check.
No. It's just one of those interesting things with people, with banking and people like that, knowing it's been around for a long time sort of thing. And it has been. It's just that the name is necessarily the new thing locally. Yeah,
that's right. So when you look at New South Wales, South Australia, most people would know exactly who Beyond Bank is, and probably Melbourne as well now. It's Geelong. This is a bit of a new brand for, but it's been really pleasing so far. The way that particularly that community organisations have embraced the idea of what we do and like the model behind it, which is and from a security perspective and all sorts of stuff, it's the same as any other bank. So we're starting to see some really good traction in that space around people's banking.
Just going to say security is the other banking thing, isn't it? People are so worried about, naturally, it's scams and things all over the place. But again, assuming all much the same no matter what bank you're with, hopefully.
Yeah. And look, and we run some really good sessions around. So the Beyond Banks are very proactive in not only making sure that their systems and are secure, but what sort of programs can we run out in the community again? So whether that be at footy clubs or local around scam awareness and financial wellbeing, and almost try and preempt any of that stuff for customers before it actually becomes an issue for them. Yeah.
You mentioned the commercial side. On the retail side, is most of the retail lending, like the mortgages and that sort of stuff, done through the community groups, or is there an offering that is out to the broader community? And is it competitive? How does it work? Yeah,
so it's it's through available to everyone. So there's a broker network. So you don't need to be attached to a community group. I think where they I said there is that focus on community, giving back to community, but as far as people's banking, that can come from any source, and the business banking side is also been.
Can you only source a Beyond Bank home loan through Beyond Bank, or are they available through other broker network, through aggregators?
Then through you can source them elsewhere as well.
Okay.
Yep. And then it's from a pricing perspective, really competitive. So I think that there was on the news a couple of weeks ago that on average the customer-owned banks are about 0.4% cheaper than the standard banks.
Yep.
Now that's not going to be on everything and all the time, but on average that was sort of the figure that was quoted.
Yeah.
So we're only going by my time in the role here, but so far everything we've sort of put forward or looked at, we've been more than competitive from a product perspective.
Yep. How do you guys go competing, and do you bother with the big four from a, if you don't scratch the surface as a consumer, you see the headline rate with the big banks that advertise heavily. How do you guys sort of see the competition, if you like, with that market on a retail point of view only? I know we'll talk commercial as well, but
look, the rates and things certainly stack up. It's probably more. We do want to. I mean, our aim is to be the world's best relationship bank. Yep. So we really hang our hat on our relationships we can build and what we can do for the community. So we're not racing around trying to be the cheapest.
Yep.
But we do want to make sure that we are competitive, absolutely. But also with that effort to get put into building relationships with communities, all that sort of stuff. We don't want to undervalue that either. So very much competitive enough, but really wanting to make sure there's a point of difference to the other banks that's not a price point of difference. It's around relationships and community support and all that sort of stuff.
What's the biggest challenge for you guys growing? Like, obviously there's a lot of upside and things you're looking at, but what's the biggest thing to hold that back? Is it just people's stickiness to the big banks?
It's probably not so much even the stickiness to the big banks. Sometimes it is just a change in banking can be seen as quite a big deal, and which it is. But there's been some really good. I think people understand that now, and technology is a lot easier to make those changes. You can access things to make change your direct debits a lot easier, all that sort of stuff. We've got a dedicated community team, particularly that sort of from an administration perspective. So if an organisation wants to change their banking with us, they get sort of worked through that really closely with with support, and it's quite quick. It's not, you can ID from, you don't have to come into your branch with all the stuff. You can ID online. All those things have probably changed over since I was last in banking. That has probably made that ability to move banks easier. But there is probably still that fear of, that's going to take me forever and 100 things are going to go wrong and da-da-da. It's just not the case anymore that we're finding.
Having dealt with sort of commercial banking from a business point of view over the course of the last, 15 years, the difference between them, we've been with Bendigo Bank before, we've been with some of the big four. The key for us is relationship. Whenever we're looking personally at our banking, like relationship, if you sort of priority order things, competitive product is there, but relationship and the ability to be able to get done and take away some of that burden that most people and most businesses, most organisations have to deal with, and they have to put time and energy into organising their financial affairs, their banking. If you can have support around that, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely, and which is why we've sort of, like I said, not only the branch staff, so that you walk into our branch and there's 3 to 4 people sitting at a desk at a counter ready to come and serve. So it's not you walk in and you'll get hit at the door. Do you want to pay out money? If you do, go out to the ATM. I'll show you how to use that sort of thing. Certainly we want to encourage people to be able to access their banking in all different ways, but we also want to make sure that if they need that support, that it's there. And like I said, from a community perspective, that essentially is my role. So it's back to the earlier point, not coming back to banking a little bit in that I do become that relationship manager for those organisations around their banking. And to your point, Jay, it's around if I've got an issue, how do I get in touch with someone quickly that I trust, that I know will go and sort it out for me, so that I don't have to spend the next hour and a half sorting it out. They're going to have to play their role in different parts of it, but there's some ownership at our end around getting that sorted out for them, because that's the relationship that we want to have with people.
Cool. We've got a lot of not-for-profits and a lot of small businesses that we deal with. Hopefully all of them will be listening to this podcast. What is, in terms of the offering or who you're looking to support, what are the types of businesses, organisations that you're out there at the moment wanting to attract, and what would be your message to them if they're listening?
Yeah, so probably just that, again, my space is that community audience. So not-for-profits, clubs, but like broader than that, we do have business banking. We've got all the offerings. So that the branch in at Malib Street in Geelong have got whatever it is that you're looking for, we'll be able to help with. But we've got some good opportunities around for not-for-profits and community groups around being able to have people's banking linked to them. So it's called our community reward account, which organisations can become a recipient of that, and essentially we help to provide them with some of the collateral, the marketing, or whatever you want to call it, to get the messaging out to their members to say, if you come and bank with Beyond Bank, then some of the interest or the outcomes come back through to us, and it can be linked directly to us. So you can walk in and go, well, I want to bank with you guys and I want to link my banking to
my organisation.
Terrible
Cricket Club.
So the cricket club will get a bit out of it.
Yeah.
Ben's got a few charities there we might have at the front of the queue.
Yeah.
We better get onto them first.
And at the end of the financial year, or start of the next financial year, there's a bit of an average balance of what your linked accounts are, and then it's a bit of a tiered program around how many linked accounts you've got and lots of stuff. But at the end of the day, then there's a portion of that interest is then paid back to that particular organisation. So it's how do we, obviously that's good for us as well. So we sort of don't hide behind the fact that that's good for us as well. But it's how do we help you guys and those organisations provide better outcomes for their members, but at the same time, some benefit back to those organisations so that they can then go and do the great stuff for those people who have supported them by linking their banking to them.
You see your bigger banks doing, sponsoring the Test cricket or whatever it is, but then this is more so that grassroots level of, sporting clubs or organisations, isn't it?
I could see you coming into bowl with a Beyond Bank.
Too late because we've already got Burke Britain on one side.
We can squeeze it in there.
Get one on the other.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Well,
we'll make it work.
You can make it work. But you'd know, operating in sort of local clubs, how challenging it is to actually raise money and to have funding to do all the things you want to do.
That community, I was thinking about it when I was back in Horsham. I played in a cricket team, so they had a competition where businesses set up their own clubs and then everyone went into a draft, and I got drafted by the Rup Minyip Bendigo Bank community team. So I played for that team. But I was thinking about it now, like at the time I didn't think much of it when you were talking earlier. They obviously they put up the money to have that team, and then we were all sponsored by them and played in that small community.
Yeah.
But for those guys in that community, I didn't even live there, but it was obviously a big part of their community.
Yeah.
So you were the highest paid player.
No, I
flew
was
in by
the last
Yeah.
pick. Last pick to get
How did you
taken.
pronounce Ruppanyup?
Rapanyup. Rapanyup. It was Rup Minyip because it was Rapanyup and Minyip.
Oh, you put
merged
Minyip
together.
Matawa.
Yeah. It's
Was
just
it
a country thing.
Minyip Matawa then, or just Minyip?
No, because so the cricket is Minyip and Rapanyup.
Okay.
Lubeck Matawa is the other team. So
Lubeck Matawa.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
real country areas.
Yeah.
This.
It's Beyond Bank in the
I think
Wentworth,
it must have
mate,
been
or
in the Rapanyup. I think it was the Rapanyup branch was the community, the Bendigo Bank.
Okay.
We were called the Community Bank Bandits. That's what we were called. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
What was your average?
A few wickets that year, actually.
This is your number one sponsor.
go.
You should sponsor this bloke here. Well, Cam, is there anything else, any other sort of call to action for any of the listeners? And also, if people are out there, if they're part of an organisation in any of the areas that you've spoke about that you operate, how do they get in touch with you? And in terms of the community development management for yourself, I don't think he answered that question. Ben was going to ask what I think is he answered.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you can answer it in one sentence, or it's you probably need the whole context, isn't it? In many ways, I just think you sort of like the conduit between the bank and community.
Yeah.
Is that
and
correct?
it helps that you've got relationships that have been there for 20 years, and it helps that you've also got a business banking background, so you can connect the dots between all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've been lucky, I guess, through my whole career to be involved with some people who have done this type of work. So obviously my father's done this work for many, many years and seen this sort of, I guess, the rewards that he's got out of this sort of work. The Platinum Partnership with Give Where You Live. It's been very interesting over the last couple of months to work a little bit closer with Bill Mithen as he's sort of resigned from Give Where You Live and moves on to a new venture, but to sort of be a part of that time that he's reflected on his time there, just some fantastic community outcomes that he's been a part of. You sort of sit back and go, well, that's, wages are great, all that sort of stuff. That's all one part of it. But what I do on a day-to-day basis that is going to give me that type of satisfaction, and this is a type of role that really does help you get that.
Probably in banking, that's probably not that common.
No, and it's an idea. So the idea is, in how do we help, I guess, transcend banking a little bit in that, so people who may not have the capacity to dip into their own pocket and give $200 or $500 to the local cricket club. How can we actually, the model to say, okay, well, just by banking with us, you're contributing to this just as much as what we are. It's just done through a different way, and you're doing it through your everyday banking, which you've got to do anyway. Everyone's got banking they need to do. How do we actually make sure that people get to come along that journey as well of feeling like they're supporting that community, whether it be their own club, whether it be a Give Where You Live Foundation or John Connect Communities. There are a lot of people out there who look at it and go, well, I do want to bank with someone who's going to do great stuff with that money and the money that I put and the trust that I put in there. So that's probably the call out to JD, to your point is, if you do want to come and bank and see your banking go towards some really great community outcomes, whether that's broader Geelong, whether it's nationally we do some great stuff, or whether it is just linked to your own community group and you want to get them involved, more than happy for them to be given my details, whether that be LinkedIn or into the Malp Street branch or emails and all that sort of stuff. We're keen to talk to whoever wants a bit of help at this point.
Cool. Well, we'll make sure we put in the show notes all of your contact details. Appreciate you coming on this morning, mate. I know we sort of glossed over your sort of background. I think the only thing different between Cam and I is the fact that he's got a little bit more hair than me, but we're just comparing notes. Cam's got 1,000 kids as well.
Got 4.
Yeah, it's a lot. You've only got one, mate. So, but anyway, we'll have you back on another time, Cam, and we can dive deep into the family life. But appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on your new gig at Beyond Bank. It's exciting to see good things happening in the Geelong community and beyond. And anyone out there listening that wants to get in touch with Cam, look him up.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Burke Britton FP or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PB Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.